Hello, everyone. We are going to give a few more minutes before we start. Thank you all for joining again today. Andre, does that help you do it? I just made you host there.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
All right. So can you make me co-host then?
I will try. Okay, just did.
Okay.
And screen share is still good, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me know when I can go live and then I'll hit the button.
Okay, you can start right now.
I'll confirm when done. We are live.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Vernon Reed, and I am with the Cyber Webinar Wednesdays. We're here again with Reginald Andre from Arc Solvers, and today we're going to be continuing with our series where we're informing folks on the new FTC safeguards. We're grateful to have Andre, who is a cybersecurity expert and has been in the IT field for 15 plus years. So just a little bit about Cyber Webinar Wednesdays. Our goal is to inform and enable stakeholders to be more informed about the cybersecurity landscape and what they need to do to protect themselves. I'm sure that many of you guys have heard many of the different breaches that are happening. Thanks to Andre, I remember one of his posts that he put out recently, that you're not too small to be breached. You might be too small to make the news, but you're not too small to be impacted by cybersecurity malicious actors. And so this is all about informing our community about the cybersecurity steps that they need to take or they can take in order to protect themselves. Again, we have Arc Solvers with Reginald Andre. Andre, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Vernon, for the warm introduction, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining today, so we can talk about what your company needs to know about the new FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission safeguards. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the first question you're probably asking is, okay, why am I here? Does this really apply to me? So if you're in the following industry, and in the Florida market, if you're a CPA, an accountant, a tax preparer, a finance company, you're in real estate or construction, healthcare, a financial advisor, mortgage lender, or a car dealership. In short, if you're any firm that handles consumer financial information, for example, full name, social security number, address, income tax papers, etc., you need to be listening in today, because we have a lot of information to tell you about what the Federal Trade Commission is going to be implementing in the next few months. And we're going to be telling you exactly what you need to do in order to minimize your risk and avoid the fines and penalties or even lawsuits that can come after you if you do not follow what their guidelines are. So first I want to talk about who are we. Arc Solvers is a cybersecurity and IT business, and we are focused on risk management. As you can see in my trophies behind, my awards behind me and trophies, we've been voted the fastest growing technology company by the South Florida Business Journal for 3 years in a row. We have been in business for 13 years, and we have serviced over 50 plus businesses in the South Florida market. On a personal side, I'm also a board member of the Broward College Foundation. I'm also a board member of the Mavuno Project, which is raising awareness on human trafficking. And besides all that, I am a cybersecurity enthusiast. I love talking about cybersecurity and helping businesses protect their business. And to the right, you can see some of our team members as well. So what are the FTC Safeguard rules anyway? As the name suggests, the purpose of the Federal Trade Commission standards is to safeguard consumer information. It's to ensure that the entities covered in the last couple of slides maintain the privacy information that your clients, consumers, are giving you. Right now, in the last 5-10 years, things have changed and cybersecurity threats are way up. And honestly, the FTC is just tired of having to read all these reports. We heard about 3 weeks ago, T-Mobile, it was about 30 million people's email address, social security number, account number, phone number. All of this information is just being sold, is being stolen by what is called hackers, threat actors. And the FTC is tired of it, because if a customer is trusting you with their information, if your employee is trusting you with their information, there has to be some type of level of mutual respect and understanding that, look, I'm giving you this, you need to protect it. And this is why the FTC is now creating these safeguards, because companies are not doing it. And the FTC is all about protecting the consumer, which is why they're doing this. So here's a brief agenda, what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about how the FTC Safeguard rules impacts your business. We're going to be talking about the deadlines and timelines of implementation, what your very next step should be to get your business covered and to mitigate your cyber risk, which is the reason all of this FTC stuff is being enforced anyways. So please, I want this to be a lively conversation. So if you're listening live for us, I want you to do thumbs up. I want you to, if you're on the webinar, I want you to say hello, tell me where you're from. And if you have any questions, let's go ahead. We're going to get those answered for you as well. This is why we're here. And I know we're also streaming live on Facebook. So hello to all our Facebook friends as well. So why should you listen to Arc Solvers, right? We're just random computer nerds. Maybe you did a hashtag for FTC Safeguards and we're just popping up on your social media feed. Cyber attacks are happening every single day. We had a scenario just the other day in Key Biscayne where one of the condos got siphoned for $105,000. It was in their local newspaper. Broward County Schools last year, they got a ransomware attack for $40 million. And as you know, with the war and everything that's going on outside of the US, we have foreign attacks. We have countries that want our intellectual property and they want our money. They need our money. Countries like North Korea, this is what they feed out of. Their government actually has groups of cyber people, or hackers, we should say, and their job is to come after companies in the US to try to get ransomware attacks and to try to get ransomware payments in Bitcoin. And of course, if you guys remember during the COVID, there was the Colonial Pipeline where there became a shortage of gasoline because the main pipeline that fed the entire Southeast US got a ransomware attack. They had to shut down the systems. So cyber attacks are happening every day. You may not hear it in the news every day, but as Vernon mentioned originally, It's not if you're going to get hacked. It's just you're going to get hacked. You're just not going to make the news because you're not big enough. But companies, 6 out of 10 small businesses are getting hacked. And our job as a cybersecurity professionals, because we can't 100% guarantee you're not going to get hacked, but our job is to help mitigate that risk and just put things into containment. Our company, Arc Solvers, is also on the leading edge of cybersecurity. We don't compromise on security. Companies call us when they have outgrown their current support or their IT guy. And we do quarterly trainings and go to conferences just like what we're doing today on cybersecurity. It's in our blood. So if you go and Google section 314.4 in the FTC guidelines, you're going to get at least 20 pages of a lot of technical jargon. So what we've done for you is we've grouped this into 4 segments. And these segments are going to talk about what a reasonable information security program looks like according to the FTC. The first thing that they want to see is that they want to see that there are risk assessments being done by a qualified individual. Second, they want to see that the risk management plan and ongoing evaluations is actually happening. They want to see that you have a plan and there's ongoing evaluations. Third, the FTC wants to see employee training and monitoring. And lastly, they want to see that you have an incident response plan. So let's first talk about the risk assessment by qualified individuals. Again, you go on the FTC's website, and it's going to be a lot of jargon, a lot of things that you may not understand. Let me give you what they're trying to say. They want one person in your company to be the contact person and to be the person in charge of making sure that your company is following the guidelines. What's been happening is that a company gets hacked. Sensitive consumer information is now being released. The FTC gets wind on it. They knock on your door or they knock on the business door and they're going to be like, okay, who do we need to talk to? Why is this information out that we're seeing on the dark web? Why aren't you protecting consumers' information? And what is happening is that you start getting finger pointing. Oh, well, I thought the CEO was in charge. Oh, I thought the board was doing something. I thought our IT guy was doing something. And the FTC is saying, look, stop all this finger pointing. We need one person in charge because when things hit the fan, we are going to hold that person accountable. And this person is just not going to be someone that just says, okay, I'm the fall guy. This person has to make sure that these things are happening in the company. For example, the risk assessment. It has to be a written and include criteria for evaluating the risk and the threat. So in layman's term, you have to go and do a risk assessment in your company to see what sensitive data do you have. Too many times the FTC is finding that people are bringing in their personal devices with sensitive business data in it, sensitive consumer information in it. So they want you now to say, this person is going to be doing an assessment, this qualified person. Again, this can't be the secretary or the front desk person or a supervisor. There has to be a qualified individual that is going to be able to do an assessment of all of your systems to then say, this is where all our sensitive data is. And now that we know where this sensitive data is, what are we going to do to protect it? So that even if a hacker got it, it's going to be very difficult for them to be able to do anything with that data. And that involves conducting a risk assessment and understanding the risks, not just looking at the data, but looking at your network, looking at how you do your business, and now seeing, okay, how do we mitigate this risk? The second thing that the FTC is looking for is they're wanting to see a risk management plan and ongoing evaluation. Now, again, this is a lot of jargon, so let me help you with that. What they want you to do, and I made this little graph too, they want to see that you implement and review a plan. They want to see that you have a plan. As I mentioned in the last slide, they want to know what and where is your data. Okay, so because of your job, because you're a car dealership, you have to collect the client's social security number. Okay, we understand that. Where are you storing that? Whose computer are you storing this on? What server are you putting this on? How long does the data need to be on the server? If you're only obligated by law to keep something for 7 years, why do we have people's social security numbers from 15 years ago still on the system? Then they also want to see what is called encrypt, at rest, and in transit. Encryption, think of it as just putting your data in a bubble so that even if your computer got a ransomware attack, and a ransomware attack, if you don't know what that is when, let's just say someone comes in your office in the morning, they double click a Word document and they can't open it, or they can't open up their Outlook, they can't open up any of their files. And what a ransomware does is it says, look, we have your information. And if you don't pay us a lot of money in Bitcoin, because with Bitcoin, it's for the most part untraceable, you're never going to get your data back. So what the FTC wants to see is that you have something in plan, and you have something in place that says that if we do need to collect sensitive information, the applicants are, for example, you're a financial advisor, and there's applications, and the application has social security number or has income, you have to encrypt that data so that if someone else gets a hold of it, it's going to be, not that it's okay, but you mitigated the risk because it's encrypted, they can't get any of the information. Or maybe someone just, loses a computer, like lost or stolen, right? Or someone breaks into your office. Can they just break into your office and take that data and now all of a sudden just be able to read it? Also, they want to see all your applications. Many times, especially in car dealerships, we see that there are very old legacy servers doing some type of function. And these application servers don't have any updates, don't have any type of support. And this is, there's something called the Log4j, which is one of the ways that hackers are using. It's Log4j is an application that a lot of servers use. And because it's outdated and people weren't updating it, there was a vulnerability in that application. And hackers use the vulnerability within that application to then get into the network. So they want to see that all of the applications you use, yes, it's great you have Office 365. Yes, it may be great you have Salesforce and QuickBooks, but you may be using another application that someone like a developer created for you, or a special, one-off type of thing someone did for you. And we need to be sure that it's good. The next thing that the FTC wants to see is that you're using multi-factor authentication. And multi-factor authentication basically means that if someone were to get your computer, your email, username, and your password, for example, okay, they have your email address, they have your password, but they don't have your phone. And with your phone, they can't do nothing, right? Because there's a code that's on your phone, and because they don't have your phone, they can't do anything. And that's another step to keep the hackers out. Matter of fact, there's a study that said that 98% of hacks can be prevented if two-form factor was turned on. Even if you set up a Google account, a Gmail account today, they still don't offer, or not, excuse me, not that they don't offer, but they don't require that you have two-form factor authentication on. They also want to see that you dispose your data correctly. You may have seen in the news a couple of years ago where the news team did what is called a dumpster dive, where they actually go in the trash of an office building, like the big dumpsters outside, and they just go through the documents and see, like, what are these people throwing away. So after you get a loan application, Mr. Mortgage Officer, or Mr. CPA, and you get some information from the client, are you shredding it, or are you just tossing it in your trash can? Or going back to that car dealership that may still have clients' information from 15 years ago that they no longer need for no reason. By law, there's no reason, the customer's not going to come back for any of this stuff. You need to figure out a way to have a plan to dispose of this information properly. Also, what they want to see is a log user activity. And this is important because you may have seen sometimes in the news where someone gets hacked and a company gets hacked, and the statement is, we are trying to figure out how they got in. Well, that's bad. If you got attacked and you don't know how it happened, that means that you don't have user activity information documented, because with logging on the router and on other devices, you can normally look at those logs and be able to see how someone got in. So they want to see that you have that. And a lot of times too, with log user activity, many times an employee leaves and they don't tell, and HR doesn't talk to IT, or the owner doesn't talk with IT. And that's how hackers are now able to get in. So because nobody's keeping track of who has access to the systems or not. Next, the next thing the FTC wants to see is employee training and monitoring. Another statistic, you can have all of the greatest firewalls, antivirus, all the bells and whistles, but it only takes that one time for that employee to click on something or do something and let the bad guys go in. I can tell you so many scenarios where we've seen that the clients, they have a really great system. They really have a great protection on the network and on the computers. Everything is being done right by the IT department. But then that employee, the employee clicks on something, the employee does something, takes a flash drive, plugs it in, boom, bypasses every single thing. So your employees are your greatest risk. And the FTC wants to be able to see that you're doing employee training and monitoring. Now, what does that mean? That means doing compliance meetings with them, talking about, hey, if you have this sheet of paper here, right, you need to shred it because it has sensitive information. Or they want to see phishing emails. Phishing emails is when you actually are trying to trick your employees to clicking on something, because you want your employees to be constantly thinking, I'm going through usually, I think the statistic is about 150 emails a day the average person goes through that works in front of a computer. 150 emails. Just takes that one time for them to click something and mess it up for your business. And they want to see the phishing emails to try to see if they can trick them. And if they trick them, then there's an educational portion of that where now the screen pops up and says, hey, Susan, next time, look out for this because this was a trick. So something that happened a couple of years ago was an auto dealership. So we're in South Florida, and you may have heard of Arago Automotive Group based in West Palm Beach. They're a really big company, car dealership. And they specifically had to pay about $500,000 to go through what they went through with this ransomware attack. So it was a combination of paying the ransom, and when you get a ransomware attack, many times you're just going to have to just buy new computers or buy new hard drives or reinstall the operating system. It's never advised that after you get a virus or you get some type of attack, that you just continue using the systems. And it cost this company $500,000 to go through this entire process. Let me tell you, for our listeners here, it is much, much cheaper to hire a cybersecurity company like ourselves and be able to protect you rather than paying $500,000. We do not charge $500,000 a year for your systems. So this was a good example, and I encourage you to Google it. It's a very good case study. Last thing the FTC wants to do is that they want to see what is called an incident response plan. Here in South Florida, you always hear, once it's hurricane season, have a plan. Because the last thing you want to do is that there's a hurricane that comes and it's 5 hours away or 24 hours a day, and you have no water, you have no shutters, you have no, perishable goods, you have none, non-perishable goods, you have none of that. They always say during hurricane season, go buy your water, 1 gallon for 3 gallons for every person per day, get all these things. And the reason is because you're going to panic. You're going to be at Publix and Home Depot waiting in line for hours and things like that. And it's the same thing when it comes to incident response plans. If you're in the middle of an attack, if you come in on a Monday morning and your systems are encrypted and you can't get any of your information, how are you going to call your cyber insurance company? Because the data is encrypted, right? How do you know to let your clients know that, hey, our systems are down, we are going to be off today, or telling your staff. Like, there's so much that takes place during an incident that you just have to make sure that there's clear roles, responsibility, decision-making. Maybe the CEO's out of town, he can't be reached, who's second in command, how much money do we spend, what are our backup plans? You know, all of these things need to be what they call tabletop scenarios. All of these things need to be taken in consideration. For example, one of the local hospitals in Broward, they were using, I believe it was ADP. It could have been Paychex or ADP, but I'm pretty sure it was ADP. And ADP got a ransomware attack. And now they could not process payroll, right? Nurses and doctors and staff could not clock in and clock out. Have you thought about that for your business? You can't just rely on payroll companies and other companies that you're using that are bigger than you and you would think spends the right money on cybersecurity. But if their systems went out, what is your backup plan to pay your employees? Something to think about. Here in our office, just so you know, we have a backup plan where if our payroll company got compromised and we couldn't use them, we have a backup system where we would Zelle them. So there's different ways you can think about it, but these are the type of conversations that we want to have, so we're not left trying to figure out what to do in a crisis. So, I went over a lot of things, right? And we talked about the 4 different categories, right? We talked about risk assessments by qualified individuals, risk management planning and ongoing evaluations, employee training and monitoring, and incident response. This, I would estimate, is going to take anywhere from 4 to 6 months. And the deadline for this was December 2022. But because there is a cybersecurity manpower shortage, so just to give you an idea, there's a negative unemployment rate right now for cybersecurity professionals, meaning that the demand is higher than what there actually is to be able to hire. So because of this, and enough people complaining to the FTC, like, look, there's no way we can do this by December 2022. Please extend it. And the FTC said, fine, okay, we're going to extend it June 9th. That's our deadline. By June 9th, we need to have this, or there's going to be fines, penalties, etc. So let's talk about the next thing. It's a lot of work, right? It's going to be time consuming. It's going to require a qualified professional. And to be honest with you, this is going to be above 90% of your internal IT department's level of qualification, because you may just have the IT guy to make sure the printers are good, make sure everybody has the latest with the Microsoft Office, and just light troubleshooting. But we're talking about cybersecurity. Did your IT person, your department, did they go to school for cybersecurity? Do they have the certifications on cybersecurity? This is a whole different level of technology. All of this, while you wait, you're still at risk while you're still trying to figure it out. So here are your options. You can try. You can go on the FTC's website and look at the 20, 30, 40, 50 pages that they wrote, and you can try and piece it together yourself, right? With your IT department, with your IT guy. You can spend months trying to do this. Or you can partner with a qualified team like ArcSolvers, which is what we live and breathe. We have templates, we have a Go team, we have this ready for you, so that when it's time and you call us and we agree on everything, we can help you and we can start on this right away for you. Still going to take 4 to 6 months because it's a process, but at least we can start this right away for you. So here's what it looks like working with us. We have a partnership mindset. We'll be doing your constant monitoring, and we're a top-tier IT cybersecurity company following the best practices and protocols. So what is the next steps? You're probably saying, Andre. Next step is to book an appointment with us. If you have your cell phone, you can go ahead and use the QR code, and you can then take the QR code, which is going to take you directly to my calendar where we can have a conversation. If you're looking at on the web, you can do arcsolvers.com/get-in-touch, and same thing, it's going to give you access to our calendar. Also, if you're not able to do it this second, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you take a picture of the QR code and later on go to your photos and go to pictures, it'll actually take you there. So I don't know if you guys do that, but I thought that was pretty cool. I just found out my son taught me that. So that's what to do the next step. Don't wait until June to get started. I'm telling you, this is a lengthy process. And as the FTC advised, quality security professionals are scarce. There is a negative unemployment for cybersecurity. So thank you everyone for joining us. We actually have a bonus for you guys that are attending. We're going to be giving you the top 10 things that you can do right now for your business to prepare for this FTC. So by joining and registering for this webinar, we'll be sending you a follow-up email for that. And as Napoleon Hill said, don't wait. The time will never be just right. So thank you so much for having this. And now, Vernon, we'll go ahead and go to you. I'm going to be checking the Facebook, and we're going to start answering some questions. So let me just stop the share real quick. All right, Vernon, there you are. Go ahead and let's see if we got some questions. I know we may have some polls, and I'll check Facebook as well.
Well, thank you, Andre. Appreciate that again. We're going to start off by doing a poll here. Here's the first one that I will launch. Let me know if you can see that. Poll says, does your organization have designated persons for cyber or information security? So you guys can respond to that. Again, per the information we just found out, your organization needs to have somebody that's designated that takes on that responsibility going forward. I'll give you another 12 seconds or so, and then we'll complete this question. All right. We're going to go to our second question here. Do you know if you have a way to detect a breach? Do you know if you have a way to detect a breach? How would you know if you have been breached? Do you know if you have a way to detect a breach?
And just to give a little thing on that one, detecting a breach usually requires some type of continuous monitoring, and that usually requires a subscription. So if you're buying your router from Best Buy, or if you paid only one time for a product, they're not going to be actively monitoring your system. So, so I guess most people may probably say no because they're not paying for something actively.
Yep. All right, and then the third question here. Do you have a cyber program in place, or at least an incident response plans in place in the event of a cyber incident? Do you have a program in place? Do you at least have an incident response plan or recovery plan in place in the event that there is a cyber incident?
And as I mentioned, planning is so important when it comes to cyber incident.
Yeah.
Panic is what they say. The quote is like, panic is not a solution, or panic is not a plan. That's what it is.
Yeah. All right, so we are going to complete that poll. All right, so the first one for designated person, we have basically, well, 60% of people said yes. And sometimes folks, you might use the IT person that they have on hand. So they have a person for a breach. as you thought, Andre, 75% of people said no. They don't know if they have a way to detect a breach. And the last one, cyber program. And currently, there's no cyber program in place for anyone. So, so yeah. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for that honest feedback. That helps us, as we prepare a lot of these webinars and as we meet with individuals on how we can help them. That's why we do these types of informational type of webinars. Anything to add there, Andre?
Just remember the deadline is approaching. It takes about 4 to 6 months. So we just highly encourage people to have that conversation with us, because what we don't want to do is kind of like, going back to the hurricane situation, when a hurricane comes and now it's time, you go to Home Depot to get the wood, you go to Publix to get the water, and they're all out. And what the industry is forecasting is that when it's closer to, June or May, June, you're going to have a ton of people, because the FTC is going to be writing letters, doing notifications and things like that. It's going to be published on their site that, final reminders, this is what needs to be done. And of course, we are a procrastinating nation, right? We wait last minute for everything. So we don't want everybody to come to us at once, because the later it takes, the more work and the more rush and the more money it's going to be, and you won't be in compliance. So we want to be sure that this is organized, and that it's not a organized chaos. So we want this to just be organized and just let it flow in the next 2 or 3 months to get this going for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right. So again, at Cyber Aware webinars, we understand the importance of keeping you guys, the executives, informed, up to date with the latest in cybersecurity and best practices. And that's why we've designed our webinars specifically for executives, business owners, security stakeholders, providing them with the knowledge, the resources, and the tools they need to make decisions and effectively protect their organizations. So we invite you to join us on our cyber webinar Wednesdays to stay informed and proactive in the fight against cyber threats. Together, we can make a difference in protecting our companies and our communities. Thank you again, ARC solvers and Reginald Andre. Thank you again, attendees. We'll talk to you again soon. Have a great day.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.